under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I welcome everybody here this evening and those watching on cable. The first item on our agenda this evening, and we're running just a tad late, is a joint appointment with the Hillview Commission. Mr. O'Leary.
Mr. Chairman, in consultation with the Chairman of the Hillview Commission, we talked to a number of the candidates, and we have a bevy of candidates as usual, but even more this year than in past years. My recommendation will be for Francis Hatchie. Fran has served on the Hillview Commission previously, was one of the original members of the Hillview Commission, has an awful lot to offer in relation to historical perspective on the Commission, their activities in the Hillview and the mission of the enterprise. In addition to that, he has remained actively involved at Hillview over the years since he got off the Hillview Commission. This current year we have both contracts coming up. I think it's important to have people in place who are in a position to hit the ground running in relation to an assessment of proposals on both the golf course and function hall. Again, I just want to reiterate that we have some great candidates. We have 8 people who have applied at this point, either previously had their applications in or put some in recently. I know most of them, most all of them, and I will be recommending as liaison Mr. Hatchie. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Chairman George Stack in relation to his input. As you realize, this is a vacancy, so that it's a joint appointment between both the Hillview Commission and the board.
Thanks. This appointment is for the balance of this calendar year. Of December.
It goes until December 31. Before I came in, I called Hank's wife, Joanne, and had to ask her to put the TV on so that I could thank Hank publicly for all the time, and I hope he can hear me, for all the time he spent with us and his dedication to the Hillview, and to Joanne and her family for all the time he spent away from them. It's been a very difficult time. With that in mind...
the time that he spent with the Hillview Commission away from them maybe wasn't a difficult time, because Hank enjoyed it and they made a little time, but
it could be.
But it's true.
But with that in mind, I stand here within a year of having two members of the Hillview, long-term members, at 20 to 25 years service, key people who can no longer serve. Hank served until he really couldn't anymore, and he called me one day and just said I had to take his letter of resignation, which you all heard. Steve said we're going out with contracts as we speak. The golf course will be going out, I think it's next week, for a 3-year with a 3-year option. The country club will be going out in January for 5-year with a 5-year option, which we got authorized through town meeting. So it's imperative, I think, that we bring someone on board that can hit the ground running. Every time someone new comes on, I give them a packet of the history, who we are, what we're supposed to be, and I won't have to do that this time. Fran was one of the architects of the bidding process we use. He's familiar with the players. He's around the golf course all the time. In the years he was on the board, he missed one meeting. So I know there would be this enthusiasm and zealousness that we need right now. He brings a plethora of talent in relationship to all the other people who applied, and there's some good applicants in there, which is, hard to say to people who aren't selected, but there are other boards. I called Ken Tarr with a couple of suggestions because they also need folks, he told me, on the LUC, which he calls the stepchild of the Hillview, but it's really our clearinghouse. It's really the key, I think one of the key committees in the town for us. It comes to us, and then we decide about the funding. So with that in mind, I would highly recommend and nominate and second Fran to fill out the term for Hank. And again, I want to thank Hank publicly, and I just hope he can hear me. Thank you.
Thank you, George. And if Hank is watching, Hank, thank you for your years of service. I did serve with Hank on the Hillview for a number of years, and he was dedicated to maintaining the quality of the course, which generates the revenue that has done so many wonderful things for the town. So again, thank you. This will be a roll call vote. Each member of the Hillview and the Board of Selectmen will vote for one person. and the secretary will tally the vote, and majority will rule.
Defer to the clerk to make the motion.
Okay, Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following name for appointment to the Hillview Commission for, excuse me, that four should not be there, to fill an unexpired term through December 31st, 2011.
You have to read all
Read all the names.
Sorry.
Yep.
Paul Ashman, Mark Cresos.
Give the address, to read the whole
Oh,
thing.
sorry. For Winterberry Lane, for Paul Ashman, Mark, I believe it's saying it right, Cresos.
Recess, yeah.
For Mentis Farm Lane, Ann Davis, 23 Hillview Road, Paul Dorsey, 18 Magnolia Road, Joseph Gill, 30 Turner Drive, Francis Hagee, 7 Wyoming Ave, James Karen, 18 Turner Drive, Lauren McMullen, 4 Baldwin Lane.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. I'll call for the Hillview members first. Mr. Collins,
Fran Hatchie.
help me with the other members. the two
Mr. Hemme,
members.
Fran Hatchie.
Mr. Junta,
Mr.
Fran Hatchie.
Mr. Carucci,
Mr.
Fran
Gucci,
Mr. Rocco,
Fran Hatchie.
Chairman Stack,
Fran Hatchie.
Mr. O'Leary,
Fran Hatchie,
Mr. Prisco,
Fran Hatchie.
Mr. Delaney,
Fran Hatchie.
Mr. Yule.
Fran Hatchie.
Chair votes Fran Hatchie. It's unanimous.
Once again, I'd like to thank all of the applicants. The citizens' activity forms will be kept on file for 3 years, for consideration, future vacancies and appointments to the Hillview Commission. And as Chairman Stack pointed out, we would urge them to take a look at committees such as the LUC, or any other board or committee commission we may have an interest to serve. So appreciate their stepping forward and offering their time and services to the community at this time.
Mr. Prisco.
Yeah, based on that, Steve, is this Mark
Cresos?
Cresos? Is he here?
No, Mark is not here.
I mean, I was reading his stuff, and he may be great for the water commission, the wastewater committee,
Yeah,
with his
Mark's a good
background.
guy. Hit him up.
So if you know him, can you reach
Hit
out
him
to him,
over.
see
Yep.
if he'd be willing to, we could use them out.
Yep.
Thanks.
You all set?
No, thank you for all the candidates, though, we do appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and Fran, welcome aboard. You'll get a certificate of appointment from the clerk at some point,
You want to stand up?
Actually, from you guys. and
From
you
us?
come and see me.
to you, then go see Barbara.
Yeah, I don't have it, it's not here, usually, right?
Yeah, we don't have that drawn up.
No, I'll come down tomorrow.
All right,
and sign.
Fran? Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen, for putting your faith in me. I served on the commission before, and I won't let you down this time either. It hurts me a little bit because of the occasion of which this opportunity, this appointment comes forward. Hank was a good friend of ours, and I feel bad that he had to step down at this time in his juncture and serve as a member of the board. So my heart goes out to him.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Fran.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have street acceptances.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
We have,
Is it July legal bills?
what?
Isn't it July legal bills?
No, we're gonna do the street acceptances first,
Oh, okay.
because of time.
Fine.
They were scheduled at specific times.
Oh, okay.
So the first street acceptance is Adrian Drive.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like the record to show that I will not be participating in the discussion nor voting on a recommendation of this particular article because I have a family member who happens to live on Adrian Drive. So I will be recusing myself from the discussion and will not be participating in the vote.
Mr. O'Leary, we have any input from the CPC here this
There
evening?
was a letter that was included in the board's packet that indicated the CPC supports acceptance of this roadway.
Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the layout of Adrian Drive as shown on plan drawn by Hayes Engineering dated August 6th, 1998, by signing said plan and reporting to town hall.
So we don't have the plans to sign this evening?
Yes, we do have them this evening.
I think we'll do it at the end of the meeting. Dick, everything is okay with you on Adrian Drive? We have a motion by Mr. Prisco. Do we have a second? Second, somebody?
Second.
Second by Mr. Yule. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining?
Aye.
4 in favor, 1 abstention. Ashwood Drive.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the layout of Ashwood Drive as shown on a plan drawn by LeBlanc Survey Associates, Inc., dated April 28, 2011, by signing said plan and reporting to the town.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. CPC is approving
Same
this.
recommendation, the CPC does vote. These, you'll note that a number of these roadways, all the way through Yankee Woods Drive are already roads that have been utilized by the town. They're considered to be older streets that for whatever reason weren't accepted originally. So they do recommend.
Mr. Carnevale? No issues. On the motion, on Ashwood Drive, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Next is Barbary Road. Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the layout of Barberry Road as shown on a plan drawn by LeBlanc Survey Associates, Inc., dated March 10, 2011, by signing said plan and reporting to the town.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Discussion? Again, CPC's okay
CPC,
on all of those.
in their recommendation, recommends that the board approve.
Mr. Carnevale? On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Next is Bonfell Drive. Mr. Prisco.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the layout of Bonfell Drive as shown on a plan drawn by LeBlanc Survey Associates, Inc., dated March 8, 2011, by signing said plan and reporting to the town.
Second.
It's actually Bonpel.
The Bonpel.
Bonfell, sorry.
Okay.
He said, I just saw it was a spelling error.
I thought it was here too.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Discussion? I take it CPC is okay.
Yes, they also vote to recommend.
Mr. Carnevale? On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Next one is Oxwood Road.
Boxwood.
Boxwood. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the layout of Boxwood Road as shown on a plan drawn by LeBlanc Survey Associates, Inc., dated April 28, 2011, by signing said plan and reporting to the town.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Discussion, Mr. Valiakonis?
By note, the CPC recommends that the board support acceptance of this road at the October town meeting.
Mr. Carnevale? On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous?
Mr. Chairman, I move to
Foley
accept,
Drive.
I'm sorry. Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the layout of Foley Drive as shown on plan drawn by LeBlanc Survey Associates, Inc., dated April 19, 2011, by signing said plan and reporting to the town.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Prisco, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Discussion. I do have a relative on Foley Drive. Not as direct as yours, I think, but I will abstain following Mr. O'Leary's, Mr. Valiakonis?
Same letter of the CPC, they note that they recommend acceptance of Foley Drive for town meeting.
Mr. Carnevale? On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Aye.
I need a pen.
Run out of ink?
Guess so.
Not a good day to run out of ink, there's a lot of things to sign.
There's too many checks to sign, I guess.
No, we probably
Should
have
start
those.
paying our online this year.